Welcome, everybody. We are going to talk about supporting faculty professional development today. I am Kelly Irwin. I work with learning.com, but I am also a part of TxDLA as the EPC chair and professional development co-chair. Normally, we have Rhonda Blackburn joining us. She is out and about today, so she is not on the webinar with us, but she is my co-chair in the process of bringing not only the bite-sized learning webinars to you all, but all sorts of professional development. So we're really glad to have you joining us today. If you are not familiar with how to find the bite-sized learning information on the website, you can go to the TxDLA website. And we have a section for webinars as well as memberships, so go check that out too. While our webinars for the bite-sized learning are free, we do record them and host them behind our membership window so that you have access to those at all times. Our membership is $35 for the year. So it's a great organization to join, and definitely go check out more information on the website about TxDLA. The webinar today, like I mentioned, is supporting faculty professional development. We do have another webinar, Bite-Sized Learning, scheduled for November 8th. And that one's focusing on empowering career education. Now that we're in this age of artificial intelligence, how do we actually navigate the challenges and build collaboration? So keep an eye out for that. If you're interested, you can definitely go to the website when the session ends and register for that session. Or you can watch social in your TxDLA emails that will be sent out for more information on that webinar. We do also have something very exciting coming up within the next couple of weeks. Our TxDLA Fall Leadership Workshop is November 1st through 3rd, and it's hosted in Fredericksburg, Texas, which happens to be one of my favorite cities. So look for more information. It truly is not just about TxDLA leadership and how to get involved in the organization, but how to gain different leadership skills as well. So be sure to go check that out and see if that's something that you have the availability to attend. We do have this year coming up in the month of November, something a little more exciting that we haven't done in a while. It's National Distance Learning Week, November 6th through the 10th. And while I mentioned we have our session on November 8th, we are also building out sessions for the entire week. So keep your eyes out for more information on that. We have a variety of sessions planned for the entire week of November 6th through 10th, all tied to things related to distance and digital learning. And last but not least, making sure you get this on your calendar for several months out. We do have our 2024 conference, March 25th through the 28th in Galveston. We've hosted it there for a few years now, and it's always a great venue with great attendance. So definitely look into that information. Our virtual option, or second half of the conference, if you will, is April 16th through 17th. Regardless of whether you're interested in in-person or virtual, you can definitely go to the TxDLA website to get more information and register. But we also are in the process of doing a call for proposals. So if you have a topic that you'd like to share with us and with our attendees for the 2024 conference, please definitely look at the website and get more information. We do have that window to submit your proposals open until November 4th. We are using Zoom today, as you are very well aware. Just a couple of housekeeping things with how to use Zoom. We are recording this session. The chat feature is turned on. That's where we asked you to go kind of tell us where you are visiting us from today. Definitely feel free to add chat along the way for conversations or questions. I'm going to be monitoring the chat for Danielle. So if a question pops up that I feel like kind of needs to interrupt her, I'll interrupt her and address it then, or we'll have time for sure for questions at the end. Please keep yourselves on mute today so that we don't have any background noise coming through that might interrupt today's session. And last but not least, we are ready to go. So I'm going to pass the session over to Danielle to talk to us about supporting faculty professional development.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I have to +1 your conference. It's where you and I both met,
Yes.
but it was a fantastic conference, and I really appreciate Kelly letting me join today, because we started talking at that conference about how to really strengthen partnerships between professional development for attendees to this webinar, but also just leveraging the LMS space in this. So I really appreciate the invite here to talk to you today. So my name is Danielle Burt. I am a solution engineer at D2L as the company, and our product is Brightspace. And so although I'll be talking about supporting faculty with professional development opportunities in an LMS, I will highlight some specific Brightspace tools that really help you accomplish that workflow. And I work with institutions who are really trying to push the boundaries of learning, not just for their student experience, but also in areas of continuing ed, professional development, compliance training. And working for D2L, we actually use our own platform for our own internal professional development and compliance training. So it's definitely an area of expertise that I have, but also just an area that we're seeing in the LMS market that institutions are really looking to stretch into this space. So I am going to share Brightspace for most of our demo today and walk through some of the workflows that really you have to consider when supporting professional development to your faculty. And so we'll talk about just how users get into professional development. So how you actually showcase the opportunity for them, where you put content and how you put content in a way that is engaging, how you reward your employees with credentials, with awards, with something tangible to have at the end, but also in terms of just content creation. So we work with institutions that are doing professional development in SCORM, in other platforms, and it provides a bit of a disjointed experience. But if you can put it all in one platform, so you have your traditional learning, maybe your continuing ed department, and then your professional development, you can use Brightspace as the LMS to really accomplish all of those goals. So today I'm going to be impersonating for the first part of our demo, Karen Lee in the system. And Karen is a director role in Brightspace, so we can support non-traditional roles. And I say non-traditional education roles. So that sort of manager role, the director role, that more corporate training type of focus. And Karen has a few opportunities here to leverage training for her staff, but also see how they're doing in their completion. So the first question we have to answer in terms of PD for faculty are, how do you give access to your learners, your faculty, to that system? And so we have worked with institutions that have a human resource management system or have the information of their faculty to be able to push a full integration into an LMS. So we can support what we call an HRIS or system of record integration so that your users can be created and access Brightspace learning. Now, if there was an appetite to have external users register, we also do have an external facing catalog solution. And so we can actually advertise public face training as well, if that was an area you wanted to stretch into. But first, we either have the opportunity to explicitly enroll users into training, but I'm going to start with the first tool is you're a faculty member and you're perusing a catalog. Once you get into Brightspace, it's called Discover. And so you might have required training. So training that your faculty has to take every year for health and safety or other HR related compliance training. But then you might want to have a sort of repository of training that is optional that faculty can just peruse and enroll into. And so in Brightspace, our version of that tool is called Discover. Think of it as like an internal catalog for enrollment. And the benefit here is that in the back end of this tool, we have the capability to advertise different courses for different roles. So let's say a student is traditional learning, they click on Discover, they're going to see things like clubs and services and student support courses that they can self-enroll into, library resources, for example. But Karen, as a director, as a staff member for her institution, when she clicks it, she's seeing the catalog of professional development opportunities within this tool. So we have the ability to personalize catalog experiences per role. But then we newly released earlier in the year the ability to have manager approval. So let's say I'm in marketing, for example. Karen is in marketing, but she really is keen on taking a PD course related to IT. She wants to expand her knowledge. And so this, instead of enrolling, could be request approval. And so it would go to Karen's manager in the system, and her manager could then approve her access into this course. For now, this is an open course. So again, you have the choice whether to have open enrollment. And so Karen simply clicks enroll, and she is then automatically enrolled in that course to then take it. So that's an opportunity to have that sort of catalog-like experience for your learners, your PD learners, to be able to self-enroll. Now, once again, if you wanted to offer it externally to the LMS, to the average user, we do have external registration, but I wanted to showcase this. So now, instead of the self-enrollment, I'm choosing to enroll into a course, I want to provide some automation when I have groups or users that meet certain attributes. So I'm going to click on a tool in Brightspace called Learning Groups. But basically, if you were a newly hired faculty at your institution, Maybe you wanted to take some onboarding courses, or you're required in your onboarding process. It is beneficial for your learning platform for PD to be able to bulk enroll you in a learning path if you meet those attributes. So if you're a new hire and you need those onboarding courses, instead of as an admin having to explicitly enroll your users into each onboarding course, you could just associate an attribute with that role. And as soon as they're created, they are auto-enrolled into the onboarding course. So it provides scalability to PD. The other area is that we support 52 attributes. So I'm going to click on onboarding just as our example here, but we define it as membership rules. So let's say you have a specific departmental training. So as soon as we associate a department attribute with your user role, you're then enrolled in all of the courses related to that department training. So in your hunt to support PD for faculty, you want to look for these efficiencies that provide that sort of bulk enrollment type of process, but are also based on really specific learning related to your role and everything about your role at your institution. So Brightspace doesn't define the attributes for you. These are just examples in the dropdown of ones that we've seen as common attributes in PD. But like I said, we can support up to 52 attributes in the system. So if there's something very specific, I saw College of the Mainland has a bunch of attendees. If College of the Mainland has a specific attribute associated with faculty at your institution, then you can define that in Brightspace because of that flexibility. So for example, if it was maybe a region, I then have attributes let's pick hire date. So in that example of onboarding, I have then the ability to define the attribute options so that, again, once the conditions are met on enrollment, it would auto-enroll them in all the required courses. So this is just a really nice efficiency from an admin perspective to scale professional development. So you have your both self-enrollment workflow for supporting general training, but then you have your attribute-led learning groups, where as soon as your attribute is established, then you would be auto-enrolled into the grouping of courses. You then, as an admin of the learning groups, have clarity into how many users meet the conditions set up, but then we also want the opportunity to manually add members. So let's say you just really want to give Kelly, for example, access to this onboarding suite of courses, then you can manually enroll a user in that membership. If I head back to onboarding, again, if you're managing these learning groups, we always want data clarity into the different areas. So we want to see the people associated with this learning group, but also be able to measure their completion. So you can see how many people have completed and which courses they're actually accessing. We want this to be, again, accessible for you to be able to see in a bird's eye view to be able to manage your professional development. If I head back here, again, we have so many opportunities here to scale programmatic enrollment into learning paths through this tool. So for example, if you wanted to offer a leadership track for faculty to really encourage them to upskill, you could create a collection of courses that have to do with leadership training, and then based on certain attributes or manual enrollment, you could have all of those users automatically get access to that suite of courses. Next, in terms of Karen's day-to-day, so she's logged in, maybe she's self-enrolled into a new resource, a new course through Discover. Maybe she added a new learning group to be able to create a new suite of courses and associate attributes to it. But the third thing she might want to do is just track her own team's learning through a tool that in Brightspace we called Manager Dashboard. So we always want to give our staff access to the data that is relevant to their role. So as the manager of any employee, you'd be able to select Manager Dashboard and really see that bird's eye view of the completion of your team. But then you want to be able to dig a little bit deeper or manually assign training as you see fit. So this is Karen's organization. Like I mentioned, she's a director. So she has 3 direct reports. She has Blake, Ruth, and Sarah. And they manage their respective teams. So attributes could be team name, for example, and then the options of those attributes could be instructional design, educational technology, and administration. So you could have learning groups associated with the departments within your institution as well. But this is really around that data clarity. So Karen can see exactly her direct reports and be able to one-off assign them learning, where I can click assign learning. And I see the courses available in the system for me to just manually assign, and I would be able to click next. That's going to manually enroll the users associated with Karen in the system. But if Karen wants to dig a little deeper, she also has the flexibility to dig into a specific team that reports to her. So Blake is the manager of that team of instructional design, and he has a team of instructional designers. So now I have the ability 2 layers down to be able to, again, manually assign training to those users. We want, again, to be able to have flexibility, but also to have ease of use here. We work with institutions who are managing 10 different systems to be able to accomplish some of these goals. And we want to streamline this to be just the actions and the data you might need with this clean, modern interface. So it's very intentional in Brightspace that these tools aren't too simple that you can't do what you need. So they have the complexity and the flexibility of attributes, but we want the data and the actions within these dashboard-like views to be very easy to use and intuitive. If you wanted to export the completion report, we also give this directly here in the interface for managers to download the completion of their respective teams. So we always want the data to be one in the user interface, but also exportable should you need to store it externally to the LMS. I can also toggle again over to the Learning tab at any time and see the different courses that are assigned to Blake's team. So this is 2 layers down, once again, to give that data clarity of how your team is managed in the system. How are we doing? And I don't see any chats, Kelly, but I just wanted to pause to just see if there's any questions related to Discover, learning groups, or manager dashboard from a functionality perspective.
I don't see anything in chat, so we can keep going. But, I have a question for you. So when you're thinking, I'm just going to use LinkedIn Learning as an example, because so many people, so many organizations use LinkedIn Learning. How does this allow for better reporting than maybe LinkedIn Learning? Or why would this suit guiding staff through professional development as opposed to some other tool that might be more business universally used, maybe is the right way to say it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we recognize that in corporate learning and professional development, there is some fantastic content out there. And I think there's a bit of a ceiling, though, imposed, like you said, in those systems where it's really around, did you click through all the stuff and maybe take a quiz at the end? And so when you leave that professional development, you don't necessarily have that sort of tangible measure of competency of a new skill. And so we wanted to give you both the content tools within, let's say, LinkedIn Learning, because we integrate directly with that platform. So let's say you want that content within Brightspace, but then we add on Brightspace capabilities like manager dashboard, learning groups for that automation and visibility. But then in terms of the course design, you can now add gamification through awards. You can use video note in Brightspace to add multimedia into your course. You just take what is a SCORM object or a LinkedIn Learning module, and you elevate it to a higher quality if you're leveraging Brightspace tools on top of it. The other point is just from an enablement perspective, most faculty know how to use their LMS, but then they're not big teams on the side in terms of PD to be able to offer robust learning and these widely developed courses. But we want it to be easy to use to manage the system. So you get to benefit from still leveraging LinkedIn Learning, but it's not another system to learn to administer it. It's just your LMS. So it becomes really easy to pitch that whole solution.
I will say that as a former district administrator, one of the things that was always very challenging for me in establishing a way for my teams all across the district to do professional development was how do I make this easy, right? Not everybody can come be in person, right? So being able to use an LMS for that purpose is fantastic. But you just said something that sparked a memory. One of the most powerful things I noticed with my teams was when they were in the system as students learning, using the tools, becoming familiar, they had a better understanding of sort of the challenges that their students would face. And so when they flip-flopped and they were, using it for teaching, they could better understand what their students went through. And it really sort of changed how they designed their courses. So you just said that and it kind of made me spark. I'll pass it back to you.
No, that's fantastic. I agree. Some of our biggest champions in an implementation of Brightspace is the faculty who have used Brightspace as a student. So I truly echo that. And you learn by doing. So you figure out exactly those navigation elements, and we try and in instructional design practices in Brightspace, standardizing navigation is always a benefit to the student experience. So it's really nice when you can experience that for yourself. All right, so I'm going to drop out of impersonating Karen. I'm going to talk through not just the way you get into the courses and the way you visualize that data. So through Discover, Manager, Dashboard, and Learning Groups, you provide that access, but also automation of enrollment, but then also the visibility of completion. But I want to lean in a little bit on the actual content design within a professional development course. And so, like I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, that our interoperability is very open in the sense that we support LTI up to 1.3, as we all know, and we also are compliant with SCORM, where you can bulk migrate in SCORM packages, as well as integrate with other systems like LinkedIn Learning. So we have many institutions leveraging all of their PD content is LinkedIn Learning, but it's accessed through Brightspace. So you have a one single access point for both your traditional learning, building your courses, but also taking your courses in Brightspace. So I'm going to click on workplace wellness here. This is an example of a more corporate style or professional development type course. And you'll notice the branding and the colors actually changed when I clicked into that course. And so we have the ability to co-brand or support hierarchy branding throughout the system. So let's say one of your professional development courses is actually a course offered by another institution. You could brand it as their institution, but still be contained in your instance of Brightspace, where everywhere else, and I keep picking on College of the Mainland, but College of the Mainland's logo would be on the main pages and all the traditional learning space, but maybe there's a partnership where they're co-offering a course and you need different branding and flexibility there. So I just advertise that. Then in terms of why a learner might take a course for professional development is really of what they're taking away from it at the end. So that tangible credential or award or skill. And so we want to be able to visualize that through an item they can take away. This is always towards a lifelong learning journey where you're always trying to learn in life. And so in Brightspace, we talk about awards to quite an extensive level. And this is just an example of a visual on a homepage experience of a course where you can advertise the available awards to be earned. And then you would then, as a learner, be able to toggle over to your earned awards tab to have that real time of the skills and credentials you've learned. And so there's two types of mentalities here for completion. Do you want it to be individual skills learned throughout a bigger course? So this particular course has multiple skills and multiple awards associated with a single course. So those sort of micro-credential type of mentality. Or you could have it where the entire course leads to one single completion certificate. And again, it's also powered through our Brightspace Awards tool. So we asked, what is the benefit here of using Brightspace? It's really that it gives you the platform for learning. It gives you the automation to get your users in there, but it also has a fully built Brightspace Awards tool that is compliant with Open Badge standards. And so that means it can be linked to so many different things other than just go through the content, take the quiz, but more robust achievements associated with it, and to be able to push to LinkedIn directly from the platform. So towards the end, I'll actually toggle into the student experience so that you can see that user interface to be able to create a public link or push to your LinkedIn profile. So we saw both as crucial opportunities to be able to take that skill with you. If I head into the content area, this is where the actual learning happens. And in this course, we have it where it is more of that micro credential. So each module here, stress at work, wouldn't it be nice if we could manage our stress at work and get a credential for it to say that we've successfully conquered it, but it's just an opportunity here to showcase that each module, stress at work, reducing anxiety or handling stress, could be associated with micro credentials contained within that space. In terms of how you create content in Brightspace, we want the platform to be flexible enough to do complex workflows like link to learning objectives. So actually having the award be a full legitimate learning objective or competency rather than just you completed the course content, but also the ability to easily create content. So we support drag and drop within the platform. So at any time I could just drag in materials, but also if I'm creating maybe that final quiz for the course completion, I have a very clean, modern user interface where at a minimum, I give it a name, I due date and description, and then I have this really nice workflow to be able to create new questions. And so we wanted this interface to be very easy to use so that you're not learning complex workflows to offer additional material to your faculty. You're not using complex tools that you've never seen before. It's the same LMS that you're using for your traditional learning, but you're just offering more professional development type structures. In this course, we actually tie assessments to learning objectives. And so we wanted each award to actually be tied to some sort of tangible credential that they had. And so we actually, in the system of Brightspace, can associate learning objectives with the learning activities. And so if I just click this here to associate this quiz to a learning objective, I then am given access to competency structures. So this is where, yes, we can do competencies related to professional development. We can do it related to traditional learning. We can even do fully built out CDE style courses. And all I wanted to bring up with this perspective is just that we have the flexibility to do more robust learning than just, again, you click next on the content, you do that final quiz. So an opportunity to grow a little bit in that space. If you then wanted to associate that gamification or that credential, we have, again, that fully built out awards tool that allow you to, one, as a lead or a facilitator of this course, to see the I'll say leaderboard of those awards, but also to add an award to the course. So I mentioned that these are the 3 associated with this course. And again, in other platforms, you're restricted a little bit by what completion means. So every time I'm working with an institution, whether it be on traditional learning, PD, compliance training, continuing ed, my question is always, what deems completion? How are you measuring that the user has earned or mastered a skill, a competency, whatever the case may be? And a lot of times you're limited to a score on a quiz, meeting a threshold, or that you've clicked all the content. But that doesn't always showcase that you've actually earned that skill. So in Brightspace, completion in an award is measured by what we call release conditions. And so you can layer them to say, okay, they have to, at a minimum, they have to visit all the content. So that's pretty standard. So we add that in. But then we also need them to take the quiz, for example, and get above a certain threshold. So I just pick a quiz and I say you have to earn above or equal to 80%. So then we now have a scoring threshold, we have the content threshold, but now we want maybe an enrichment item. So we want them also to have posted in a discussion board, or we also want them to have received an overall grade value or completion metric that is measured through multiple assessments. So we can get more granular on what deems completion. We can make it more well-rounded here. And Brightspace gives you the flexibility to say, do all the conditions have to be met or just one? And so we have so much flexibility here to define completion in a more robust way to really prove skills have been earned in these professional development courses. Seeing a question from Janet, is your awards widget that was on your course homepage a system widget that is available to all? Different ways we package widgets. And so you might, if you haven't seen it at your institution and you have Brightspace, I would encourage you to reach out to your D12 representative to see if it's on in your system. And if it's not, that you can get access through widget expansion packs that we offer through Brightspace. Great question. All right. So then from the learner experience here, we've put all of the conditions that have to be met in terms of what this award is. We've added a visual aspect to it, whether it be a badge or a full certificate template that is personalized to that user. And so Brightspace allows you all of those design capabilities here to be able to have your own badges, your own iconography, and your own certificate templates uploaded to the system. And we even do internally to D2L have instructional designers that can help you design some of those branding elements as well. But I wanted to showcase the student experience from the awards perspective. So I'm going to jump into our class list tool, which is just where our roster is, and impersonate again, but from the student perspective. So I'm going to use Amy here because I know she has some awards in the system. And so she now has on her earned awards tab, she sees that stress at work, that she's conquered it. But on the available awards, she sees the other 2 with the transparency here of what she has to do in order to earn that award. So she has to achieve the learning objective of how to handle unavoidable stress. If she heads into the awards tool itself, she can see her earned awards across her portfolio. And then, for example, if she wanted to share that externally, she can push directly to LinkedIn. But we were seeing that users might want to put their award as well on their resume or a digital portfolio of some kind. And so we both have a portfolio functionality in Brightspace that can be accessed externally to the system, but you can also just at a minimum create a link. And this doesn't have dependency on Brightspace itself. So that means if you're going through your professional development and for whatever reason you change and you don't work at your institution anymore, that public facing link and the badge or credential on your LinkedIn profile are all still there. So you have that towards your lifelong learning portfolio, no matter what, if you're connected to your Brightspace instance or not. Any questions specifically around awards capability, or if your institution is doing any gamification? I will also mention that you don't have to have this external sharing enabled for every award. It is a toggle. So let's say you wanted to gamify your traditional learning courses or even your PD courses, but it's not the actual credential you get at the end. You can add awards throughout a course without the LinkedIn and without the create a link, and then just have the completion one LinkedIn connected and public link creation. But any questions in general about awards and that capability?
I don't see anything in the chat, but if someone has one, you're more than welcome to take yourself off mute to talk to Danielle about it. I just ask that you put yourself back on mute once you're done.
And I'll say we work with a lot of institutions that, again, you start to have this laundry list of integrations that you have to manage, both from an administrator perspective, but also from a learner perspective. So if you're creating your courses in your LMS, and then you have another tool for publishing content, and then you have another tool for this and another tool for that, it just becomes a lot to manage and a lot to keep on top of. And so many institutions have to rely on third-party awards tools because their LMS doesn't have these capabilities. So when we've met with institutions where they see the capabilities of Brightspace's awards, and they realize that they don't have to rely on a third party for this. And because it's a Brightspace tool, you have that flexibility to add those release conditions to say the criteria at which you have to complete to earn that credential. We have so much more options of what completion is because it's all Brightspace functionality. So there's that consistency piece throughout the platform.
Danielle, on the awards and the constraints that you have access to, does D2L provide to their customers sort of a guidelines or a tips for creating or anything like that in the process? So not so much like the tool based, but how do you think through it? How do you evaluate what type of awards to give or not to give, right? Because you kind of talked about the different layers.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a role internally to D2L called a learning strategist. And within our professional development, continuing ed, and that sort of credentialed learning type of engagement, we often will come in and do something called a strategic roadmap. So we're figuring out exactly, I call it your North Star, but where do you want to take your learning program? What's all your dreams as far as how you have your learners earn awards, the complexity of the content, the tools in which you use. And then we work backwards from that perfect state to say, okay, where are you now? Because a lot of times you're giving LinkedIn learning access, but then it's external and it's not an internal PD development, and there's different systems, or I've even seen that it's just content pages that they're sharing through email for training, but you then become one consistent system using Brightspace capabilities if you're then strategically thinking about where you want to take your learning program and working backwards. So when we start our process, we say, let's strategically think about completion, how to incorporate gamification, how to add complexity to your learning, and then we enable you on those tools in Brightspace to be able to implement that to get to your North Star eventually. So that is definitely a service offering that we have. Great question. All right. So this is a little bit more from the traditional learning perspective, but if I was teaching this course, I'll just finish with a little bit about data. And this comes back to, again, the benefit of using sort of that one platform for all your types of learning, whether it be traditional learning, whether it be PD, but you still have all of the Brightspace tool set that you have in your traditional learning courses in your professional development type courses. So if I'm heading into content and I have my modules, of course, I can create all the different types of assessments, surveys, checklists. I have all those tools available to me. I can import SCORM objects, so it's all there. But let's say you have existing activities through external learning tools like LinkedIn Learning. Again, all of that is managed with one button in your modules to be able to course create. So all of that is available. I'll also speak to just the ability to create content with ease, in that every area you create content in Brightspace, you're leveraging the Brightspace editor. So you have functionality like being able to insert multimedia through insert stuff, being able to add equations, being able to make sure it's accessible through the accessibility checker. So a lot of times you have your traditional learning creation tools, but then when you create content for corporate learning or professional development, you all of a sudden become really limited in content creation. So I just wanted to lean in that all the tools that are available in traditional learning are still available as you design those PD courses, because you're leveraging Brightspace. So if you're creating a welcome to workplace wellness, in Brightspace, you can personalize. So I can use my replace strings that I'm typing in right now so that this content page is actually personalized for the user who's viewing it by leveraging their first name. You also have in Brightspace the ability to grab document templates. So if it's a module introduction here, we drop this in and we now have a beautifully designed content page that's just point and replace with the content you need. And so again, in other LMSs or other platforms, you're learning all these new tools and you're creating content, and in HR specific or PD specific areas, those folks we work with have 10 different hats for the roles that they have, and they're usually very busy. So that reliance on SCORM and LinkedIn Learning become crucial. But if the tools for creating content also made it very easy, you could more easily leverage content you as an institution create for your PD. I will say, I've taken a lot of professional development courses and a lot of just courses in general through certifications and things like that. And I really can't handle boring courses. I want to see engagement. I want to see the instructor. I want to see multimedia. Like, I just have that expectation if I'm going to do my full-time job, have my personal life, and take a PD course on top of it. You want it to be engaging. And so I'm going to turn my Zoom camera off and use what we call in Brightspace our video note tool. But this is just a tool to just quickly add up to, and I'm live here, 30 minutes of audio or video within the platform anywhere you create content. And what's great in Brightspace is the ability to support rolling enrollments. So let's say as a faculty self-enrolls into a course through Discover that I showed at the very beginning, you create these content pages and you say, one day since they enrolled, show them this video. And so that way it becomes this personalized, engaging journey throughout that PD course. You don't have to manually do that for each learner as they enroll, right? It automatically happens. So we can do a quick new recording, hit next, and we can also ensure that this welcome message is accessible by adding in captions here. And so we can automatically generate those, where this will drop this embedded video directly in the content page. So just in a few seconds, I'm able to create content using templates. I'm able to personalize it for that asynchronous and fully online PD structure we often see. And then I'm able to add that multimedia embedded right in line. And so it becomes easy to deliver or create these PD courses and then have that repository for self-enrollment through Discover, and it's personalized as the user enrolls. So we have one LMS that can really scale to all of those different types of course deliveries and gives you those tools across the board. The last thing I'll mention as I save and close this content page that we created is if it's an instructor-led course, and we see that personalization there. If it's an instructor-led course that you do want to have some visual on your progress, we do have a class progress dashboard, which gives you access to sort of that bird's eye view of completion. So maybe not as specific to PD courses, because PD courses are often self-led, but just an opportunity here if you wanted to see a course-based completion report that we also have that data available. The last thing I'll mention is the ability to, again, personalize and automate some of the engagement within a PD course that is fully online, asynchronous, self-paced. And so we have a tool in Brightspace called Intelligent Agents. And this tool is the ability to template communications via email for different milestones, conditions, whatever you need, login activity, to keep the engagement and communication with your learners, but again, personalize it to the needs that they have. So these are just two examples of ones that are pretty common in PD courses. So the learner has not logged into the course for a week. So we might want to give them a little nudge to say, we noticed you haven't logged in a week, make sure you jump in, or even record that video that I just did and have that be in the email message. So these are just automated nudges or alerts that are very easy to put in the template that add that engagement throughout the course. And once again, it can be tied to that rolling enrollment. So maybe you schedule communication for the first day when they enroll in the course. And then 2 weeks after that, again, it's personalized to their enrollment when they started the course. We also, again, have the ability to tie learning objectives. So you might want to reach out if they haven't earned that learning objective or they're not progressing through the skills earned. We want to provide additional content or some tips and tricks to complete the course successfully. So I'll pause there just to sort of summarize what you can do in terms of professional development, but how you can leverage potentially, if you have Brightspace, I know College of the Mainland does, but if you have Brightspace, you can then stretch into using some of these tools for other areas of learning like professional development. So we talked about how do you get access to your learning through Discover, where you can self-enroll into those courses. We talked about how through learning groups and attributes, you can customize bulk enrollment into multiple courses based on those attributes. We talked about data transparency. So as a manager, being able to track your employees' completion towards their required compliance training, but also see what training that we can assign them ongoing. And then we have the full power and capability of Brightspace in terms of course design to be able to create assessments, engaging learning, multimedia right within the system. And then finishing with the actual completion, the tangible skill, competency, learning objectives, certificate, award, whatever you call it and whatever you're adding into that experience through Brightspace's awards tool. So I'll stop there and just see if there's any questions in our last couple minutes, and then I'll turn it back to Kelly for wrap up and next steps.
I have a generic question because some of the folks on the webinar today may be D2L Brightspace users, some of them may not. So is there a blog space that D2L uses more generically that anyone has access to, where they can just kind of basic information, versus where do people go if they're interested in more information specific to like the product, or how do they use the product, or things like that?
Absolutely. So we do have a public-facing community that you can see both enablement materials on these tools, but also see discussion boards and articles that our clients and institutions have written. So I'm going to move my Zoom doc here, and I'll just put the URL in the chat, and you can join the community even if you're not a member of the D2L community. So I'll add that in. And so you can use that to start to get a little bit more information, and you can even toggle to the corporate style articles where it's a little bit more focused on that compliance training, corporate learning, and credentialing. But then if you wanted to actually try Brightspace specifically, we do have a try now experience where you get a bit of a window into the Brightspace platform and be able to play around. But also, too, you can reach out to us directly and get a full detailed demo for your institution. And you'd work with myself, and I actually have my colleague also on this webinar, but Sebastian, to actually review Brightspace in more detail. Because I will say, from our perspective, we don't just want to show you a software and say, good luck. We want to hear what you're trying to accomplish with an LMS and with a learning program, and really talk about how Brightspace can help you get and reach those goals. So direct to us, the Try Now experience and the Brightspace community are all great resources for you.
Excellent. I don't see any other questions coming in, as in it doesn't look like people are typing along the way. This was great information. Any last passing thoughts, words of wisdom, and how to support just faculty in general for professional development, things that you guys have heard from some of your customers that are just, I don't know, inspiring in some way?
That's a great question. I would say don't be worried to start small. Wherever you are at in your journey of offering professional development is a starting point. And even if you're not even started, there's always the opportunity to offer that. So I would say start small, start with even just LMS enablement as an opportunity for professional development, to incorporate that gamification into one course that helps you scale training to the rest of the institution. So start small. And I mean, I'm biased, but I would say Brightspace is going to help you reach all of your goals. So I showed you the potential of what you can do for professional development, but just really be intentional about the tools you use so that it doesn't become inaccessible for professional development, that it is easy to use. It does give you those tangible skills and allows you to reach your goals. All right. Well, I'll say thank you, everybody, for listening to me. And thank you, Kelly, for letting me come and talk about this. I am constantly learning through D2L, but also in my own career. So I think it's just such an important thing to keep in mind as we upskill and take on the world.
Thank you, Danielle. Much appreciated to not only you, but D2L for allowing you to be here with us today. Great information on supporting faculty through professional development. Thank you for sharing some of the tips along the way of not just how D2L and Brightspace make it flow, but just in general for things that our constituents need to think about. As I mentioned earlier, November 8th, we're going to do a session on empowering career education in the age of AI. So how do you navigate challenges and collaboration now that we have this new tool that is truly there helping us in some cases? A reminder to go look at the TxDLA website for other learning experiences, as well as the membership. As I mentioned earlier, it's $35 to join for a year. Great webinars, great experiences, and even better people. We couldn't do sessions like this, much less our conferences, without the support of all of our partners. And we truly do call all of the vendors that work with us partners, just like Danielle did today, coming and sharing information. They share information with us at the conferences, and they also partner and join some of our webinars and join our sessions and really become a part of the TxDLA community. Our diamond partners are D2L, Canvas, Anthology, and we truly could not do what we do without all of our partners. Digital Resources, Panopto, Howard Technology Solutions, HonorLock, Inside Track, Proctorio, Pronto Respondus, Science Interactive, and then Prairie View A&M. So thank you to all of our partners along the way. Reminder about Fall Leadership again, that's November 1st through 3rd. National Distance Learning Week, November 6th through 10th. We have a lot going on in the month of November, which is exciting. And then we have a little bit of a break, and then we come back for conference in March, in person in Galveston, and then virtually in April. Please, whether you were inspired by something that Danielle said today that kind of sparked an idea for a session, for whether it's in person or virtual, please take a moment to fill out our call for proposals. Again, that is open until November 4th. A little bit more information about what you get when you join TxDLA and ways to follow us on all of the different socials. X/Twitter. I guess we need to update the bird to an X. But you can find us in all sorts of different social areas. So thank you all very much for joining today. Hope you enjoyed the session and hope to see you on November 8th. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.